not from the novel this time, but from her short stories. And we have moderating this session Dr. Akwe Jackson, and this promises to be a very interesting session, so please stick and stay with us. So over to you, Dr. Akwe.
Thank you very much. Every time the doctor is used, I get frightened, but because then the whole of society is expecting so much from you. I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor in art, which is weird, isn't it? Drawing, and you're a doctor. But yes, we do quite a lot. And yesterday I introduced myself as someone who is interested in disruption, and so I'm actually very honored to be on stage with Bisi Adjapon, whose novel I read, of Women and Frogs. And so there's a lot in it, but we are not here today about Women and Frogs. We'll go to Women and Frogs. But it's really, she just dropped a little hint that this project from which we'll be reading was put together in honor of Amatedu for her 80th birthday. And there are several contributors to it, and so she will talk about the other contributors and then do some readings from her own work in it. And then if we have enough time, we'll also spill over to something that she's working on currently, which will soon be out. And so without much more talking, we want all of us to give a round of applause to Bisi Adjapon.
Hello.
Yeah. So thank you. You've been with us almost from the beginning, or at least you are a veteran of Peja, and we really like the vim and the verve that you bring to the discussions of your stories. And so, just a short introduction about the project that you worked on.
Yeah, so actually the book is called Between the Sometimes she writes anything from protest novels to love stories, anything at all. And so this is an eclectic of stories. We have writers like Sefiata has a piece in here. Antiama herself has a piece in here. So did it out of love, no payment, so please give us our free complimentary copies, 2 each, as I recall. So I just called him out, okay? So in fact, I don't think Auntie Amma even has received hers yet, so maybe she did eventually, I don't know. So I had to come and borrow a copy here. Did you see the paper? Ah, there it is. Oh, yay. Thank you. I wanted to run, not knock on the door. After 20 years of silence on my part, I had no business expecting.
Hello. The excitement was just getting there when you stopped.
Wow,
But that's interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, so already, even though I said that we wouldn't go back to Of Women and Frogs, there's a sense, your sense of narration and your sense of suspense in telling the story can also be seen in this scene where there's something about unease. You mentioned that you displayed a confidence that, or the character displayed a confidence they didn't have. How do you get about writing such things? Is it autobiographical? Is it totally work of fiction? And if it is, what inspires this fiction?
It's funny because anytime a writer writes something, the first question is it autobiographical? So I in a way, I should take it as a compliment because that means it seems real. But and there are sometimes elements of autobiography. I think I said it in Of Women and Frogs, for instance, there were elements of autobiography. In this case, the only autobiographical element is that the gentleman is an athlete, and I was an athlete at Legon. So, the story is about two athletes who meet. So I can very easily imagine the scene, imagine the characters and everything, because, it was part of me. So, yeah, in that sense, it is a little autobiographical, yeah.
Yeah, and so thank you for that. You said you did this work, it was almost a labor of love. You did it with the belief and the hope in the person to whom it was dedicated. You didn't meet any or some of the writers. Why did you choose to write this story, or why did you choose to contribute this particular story to this larger project?
Okay, so Of Women and Frogs, as you know, was kind of happy, sad, yeah. And there were I thought it would be fun to write a story which does not have an unhappy, sort of ambiguous ending. I wanted to start off with two people who loved each other but who had been separated, and that's where the story begins. She's there. I don't know if you've ever watched this movie, The Notebook, right? Those of you who have watched, so there is going to be a little bit of a backstory, how they met, what led to their separation, and why she's now back. And the question is, what is his status? She knows that he's married. That's what she's been told anyway. So the question is, where do they go from here? And that's what I thought it would be fun to write a short story like that, as opposed to an unhappy story.
Yeah. So the one to whom this is dedicated, Amatedu, is known also to write very if not sad, very devastating stories. One that comes to mind especially is No Sweetness Here. I say anyone who reads that book and does not shed a tear is no human. Do you know that story, No Sweetness Here?
It's the only one of her book that I struggled to read. I have to say, I did not finish it. Sometimes you don't finish work not because it's not good, but because it's too good.
Yeah.
It made me too miserable. And she tore me to bits. So no. But Changes, on the other hand, exactly. So I was thinking more of Changes. But the title itself, No Sweetness Here. So she's warning you, no sweetness here. Don't expect the book to be nice. So yeah.
Great. A little bit about Ivor Adjapon. He's worked on a cross range of projects, from the economy of Ghana, extractive technologies, and then that's dedicated to Amatedu. How was the process for you, and if you know about others who participated in it?
Well, it was actually very, very simple. I came in late. It was actually something like 3 weeks to the publication when he wrote to me and said he had heard about me from Aisha, and could I write a story? And as far as I know, it was by invitation only. So there were writers who may have wanted to contribute but were not able to have the opportunity to do that. So I had just 3 weeks, and I said, okay. And I literally just knocked this out in 2 days.
Wow.
And in a way, sometimes it's better. I used to be a journalist. And those of you who have been in journalism, you know how it is. You have a deadline, you have no choice. So that is a kind of discipline that has really helped me. So if somebody tells me you need to write something, I just start writing. And that's how it happened. So as far as I know, it was pretty easy. He didn't feel as though he needed to do a lot of editing. So, and we welcome editing. I do anyway. And so actually at one point, I remember the book was already at the printers, and I read it and I said, no, there is a sentence I don't like. I didn't do a good job. He said, no, it's okay. I said, nope, I beg you, don't let that, then remove my name from it. So the poor guy had to get the book back. Had to wait for me to edit it the way I wanted and to reset it, because I really appreciate editing and I welcome it. So as far as talking to the others, I think they all had a pretty easy time of it. The only problem we had was we were going to launch it here with Wale Soyinka had been invited and other people, and it was a big event. Then COVID happened and we were forced to cancel. So the book is out already selling. We've decided, as far as I know, I don't think Ivor is planning a launch. And also Amma is really tired, Auntie Amma. I don't think she wants to do anymore. We had the 80th celebration for her at NYU. So she said, I don't know, were you there? I thought I saw you. She said something to the effect that was the last time she was going to appear in public. So we're through with it, but it was a pretty simple project. I think the difficulty has been getting the books to writers outside Ghana. And the way I see it, even writers inside Ghana, like Kofi, haven't got their copies yet. So, but me, I nagged him and I wrote to him and I worried him until he sent me my copies. So.
That's great. At this moment, you said you were going to read maybe the introduction of Auntie Amma's piece, so you could have that. Thank you.
Auntie Amma's piece is called Aleppo, and then maybe we can also allow the audience to ask questions if they want to. What time is it? How are we doing?
How are we doing with time? Who is checking the time for me? Yeah, cool. Okay. So all right. So we will do the reading of Auntie Amma's story, and then we'll go to the audience for some interaction.
Okay. So Auntie Amma's story is entitled Aleppo, and that always makes me think of course, Syria. And one thing I love about Amma is she's not just a Ghanaian, she's Pan-Africanist. She's also pro any marginalized group, and she's interested in women's issues across the continent. So this is Aleppo. Her children had found her in a truly sad state, bunched up into a rather tiny bundle on her widowed king-size bed, the sheets crumpled. With her head under the sheets, she barely managed to squeak out the "come in" when they knocked. They are both here because Kabuki had phoned her like she normally would, early on a Saturday morning, especially when she was not sure that either she herself or her brother would be able to visit their mother that weekend. This call had turned out to be anything but routine. The young woman had realized that her mother was crying on the phone and could not stop. So she hung up on the weeping parent and immediately called her brother, who had come driving furiously to meet her at their mother's. "Mother, what is it?" That from Nah, his irritation naked. Silence. Under the sheets, she shivered slightly to the reminder that they called her mother only when they wanted to emphasize a fact. That a brilliant career in the foreign service notwithstanding, she is still their mother. Therefore, loved but not really listened to. And she is old. So everything about her is rather out of date, especially her ideas. Ironically, she was also thinking that she had not asked anybody to check in on her, thank you very much. And if they had decided to come of their own free will, then they better behave themselves. None of their forced concern. Mother, began the young woman, who was already sitting at the bottom of the bed and trying to pry the tightly held bed sheet off her mother's head. This was a game she refused to play with them when they were kids. In those days, the harder they had pulled at the sheets, the tighter she had clutched at them, until they threatened to give up out of sheer frustration. Then she would loosen up, show them her adoring and adored face, sit up and hug them both. But now they were no longer kids, and this was not a game. So she decided to throw the sheets off her bed and sit up. The two were shocked by her face.
Wow.
I forgot. I get
thank
to
you.
keep this.
Oh, can we give a round of applause for that?
Thank you.
Yeah, you know when just to stop. It's when we most want to know what happened next.
It's deliberate, so that you go and buy the book. Sorry, we writers, we need that. We need to sell books. So please, get a copy.
Get a copy. Here there are copies in Vidya.
Yes.
The Vidya stand.
The Vidya
Get a
stand,
copy.
yeah.
At this moment, is anybody in the audience willing to make a contribution, ask a question, make a comment? Anybody? It would be nice to interact with the audience. We are sharing here. If not, I'll call out.
Anybody want to talk? We can also ask questions about Of Women and Frogs.
Yes. If anybody has read Of Women and Frogs, which also is a very loaded story, also spanning so many years and experiences, boarding house, challenges across the borders and all that. Please, questions, comments?
Yeah, or we can just go on.
Yeah. Anybody? Okay, but maybe just to you, Bisi, the experiences in boarding house that happened in Of Women and Frogs, and also what series of events led you to want to share this type of story? It's not one-dimensional. There are so many things happening at the same time in the mind of a growing up young girl until she becomes an older person. What led to such a story?
Oh, that's such a broad question. Maybe, is there anything in particular that you were interested in?
The internal dialogues that she has, and for example, when she trying to live up to expectation or trying to challenge expectations that were quite unconventional, if we understand what I mean, where normally a child growing up in Ghana or in Nigeria at that time would have been expected to be docile and agree to everything the parents said. Yet this child is not that. So what led to that?
I think that all of us can relate to being asked to do things that we question adults about. But I think that perhaps for me, Of Women and Frogs, I was interested in the sexual growth of a young girl, which is something that I think, and I'm a parent now, and I can tell you that I'm a hypocrite. I tell my children, listen, you have to understand this. All adults are hypocrites. We want you to do the right thing, not because we did the right thing all the time, but because we know better. So don't look at what I did in the past and say, hey, but you did this. It doesn't matter. Do what I say. I try to set a good example, right? So I say this because, for instance, when my son one day came crying to me. Oh, I hope he's not watching. I swear he'll kill me. I will not give you his name. But he was a child and he came crying to me and said something came out of his pee. And so then he was very worried that he had made somebody pregnant. He was like, I think 12 years old or something. I didn't know how to discuss sex with him. So I went and bought a book and I said, here, read this, and then I ran away. So later on I called a male friend, because his father was not there. I called a male friend and I said, please, this is what is happening. My son has questions. Can you come and help him? But at least I tried. At least my son felt comfortable enough to tell me. But for some of us, when we were young, some of us women, especially in villages, in small towns right now, they have no problem putting pepper and ginger in your you-know-where. And so you grow up with a fear And so if you have questions about sex, you don't go to your parents. You eavesdrop on your big brothers and sisters' conversations, and you may not hear the correct information, or you discuss with friends who are as clueless as you are. So that is where I developed the character of AC of Women and Frogs, just to show what it is like to grow up ignorant and to have questions and not, have the help, and to try to solve the questions by yourself. So, like for instance, she calls her vagina a pawpaw because it looks like a pawpaw to her, right? So, yeah.
But I mean, that's also interesting. In the title of Women and Frogs is hidden the dilemma that she had to go through. And this is about whether the fable or the story of a woman finding a frog and kissing it, then it will change into a Prince Charming or something.
No, not at all. That's your Hollywood and also Andersen's fairy tale, where no, it had nothing to do with that. We have a superstition, if you remember. I don't know if you all grew up with that kind of superstition, but when I was growing up, we were told that if you're a woman and a frog jumps on you, you're going to change into a boy. So that's what started her fear of frogs, because she did not want to turn into a man. And the problem with turning into a man is basically that she wanted to, because she didn't like being a woman. And she didn't like being a woman only because she thought that men had it easy. But once she figured out what it was all about, then she came to accept herself as a woman. So it's really about her journey, starting from a child, trying to figure out what it means to be a woman, and coming to peace with herself. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, if at this moment there are questions or contributions, they are welcome. If not, maybe I'll go back to the between generations. And you mentioned that there were some writers that you liked, or who also are involved in this project.
Well, I think that if I may, maybe I can also whet your appetite a little bit with Aisha's story.
Okay.
And Aisha's story is particularly interesting because she wrote that story specifically as an homage to Amatedu. Amatedu had written a story that had featured two sisters, and so she picked up on that theme and she tried to recreate a story of her own. And I found that very interesting when I read it. So perhaps I can read a little bit for you. Let me look for the page. Okay, and the title is Sisters, and it's on page 77 if you happen to have a copy. If you don't, it's okay.
You can go get one.
Okay. So, Sisters by Aisha Haruna Atta. First, I dug up 3 eggs, then another 4. The 7 eggs lay stark, white against the crumbly, rust-red laterite beneath them. I imagined them cracking up, opening, little serpents slithering out, or worse, a mother lying in wait, ready to strike her fangs at the person who had disturbed her nest. I scurried inside. Later, I searched online. Snake or lizard? Some reptiles laid eggs, others gave birth to their young. My fear of a mother lurking was unfounded. The ones that laid eggs moved on and didn't look back. The sound of my sister's sharp horn reeled me out of my search. Shading my eyes from the headlights of her car, I traced the silhouettes of Lariba's wig, Adobia's round afro puffs, and Kobe's high face. I exhaled, waiting for the barrage of words that would hit me once the engines were cut off. Sam, the watchman, shouted at the car, "Good evening, Madame Lariba." Adubia poured out of the car first, then Kobe, who had pulled her face. Auntie Niena, you should have come, said Adubia, hugging me. It was so fun. She showed off a plastic bag, no doubt bursting with sweets and color pencils, maybe even a tablet computer. My niece was so girly. Then again, she was no different from her mother, who stepped out of the car and wagged her finger at Kobe. Before I could ask why, Lariba warned, "You better wipe that frown off your face." I never asked questions when one of her children had annoyed her, but as they went inside, I grabbed Kobe's shoulder, placed a finger on my lips, and waved at him to come with me. She often said he was too sensitive. Chatterbox. My heart began a sprint. Someone had squashed the eggs. Wisira, yellow mucus splashed on the red of the sand. I left them here, I said. Who? What were they? I don't know. Lizards. Snakes, said Kobe, a large wedge of a grain. We bent over and studied the outlines of what had been. Transparent limbs, or the remains of them, curled around nascent bellies blue with blood. Lizards, definitely.
Another moment of suspense, and we definitely have to get the books from Vidya. This is it's an exciting story. There's a sense of childhood or childish discovery in it. I mean, you are not the one who wrote it, but you've read it so beautifully. But I must say, you read very beautifully, because for all the stories you've read so far, the way you get into the character of the people speaking, yeah, it's very wonderful. Please, let's clap to that. It's been very wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you've read two other writers' works within something that you have written. How is it like when you read another writer as against reading your own work?
For me, I get very excited because I think because I write, it's not easy for me to enjoy a lot of stories. It's very easy to start reading and see the device the author used and said, oh, I know where he's going, I know where she's going. So when I read a fellow author that I admire, I start to get very excited because there is going to be a discovery. And I think that I'm fortunate to be part of, I think yesterday Chike mentioned, we have a group called Afro-Lit Some Frontiers, African writers who have banded together. And we support one another, we are one another's cheerleaders. And it's really a lot of fun because some writers can have a bit of an ego problem. And we always want to be, appreciated and admired and that kind of thing. But the truth of the matter is that we are just human. So I personally enjoy other people's writing. I get excited when I know somebody has a new book coming out. I want to know about it. Today I discovered a new writer that I didn't know, the writer of Ashawo Diaries. I'm very excited. I've got a copy. I've started reading it. I was supposed to be MCing, but I was scared I was going to do a bad job. Because I've never done it before, so I didn't do it, but I'm excited. I remember being here, my first pager, and Professor Anidoho was here. There he is. And I remember sitting here listening to him read and just getting excited because, the Anidohos are a power force also at Legon and all that. So I was very excited sitting here listening to him read, chatting with Nana Asase and all that. So for me, it's always very exciting. We need more writers. It's very interesting to me. I met one writer, and I shall not mention her name because she's Ghanaian, but I'd never met her before, and I met her on a plane. And I was very surprised when she said something like, if you're a writer, then I'm in competition with you. That shocked me because no two writers are alike. We take our old writers like Shoinka, Achebe, Eleki Amadi, Ola Rotimi. They are all so different. And so everybody's voice is different. And there's so many writers in the world. I don't think we have enough African writers. And I feel we don't have enough Ghanaian writers. We need more writers coming out of Ghana. There are lots of writers coming out of Nigeria, and I want more and more writers. I'm half Nigerian, so I straddle both countries. I want more writers coming out of Ghana. We should do more writing workshops. We should help our up and coming writers. So yeah, for me it's always exciting. So
great. Thank you. Just
you have
on
a question? Yes.
A question? Yeah. Okay. Nanayao has a question.
Yeah, Bisi, earlier you mentioned that you do not like contributing a lot to anthologies. I'm imagining short story collections. And then you also referenced your past as from the media, from journalism, and how you can deal with deadlines. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I mean deadlines.
Yes, deadlines. Do you not think that contributing to anthologies is a way to get more people to write, or to actually not just to write because people are writing, but to publish their material?
You make it, and it's something I haven't thought about. Obviously I was thinking only of myself, my personal wishes, but I can afford to say that only because now I have published a book, and not just that, I have recently well, I wasn't supposed to tell people, so I will not tell. I refuse.
I thought we were going to hint on it.
No.
Suspense.
But I have other things in the work. But what you're saying is so true, because I would, if I weren't published and I didn't have other opportunities coming up, I would be begging to be in an anthology. For instance, there is an anthology that came out, Accra Noir, which is published by Akashic in the US, and we have writers who have never published a story, like Ansaki, who is in fact a very good writer. She has a witty, really nice story in it. So it is an opportunity for people. And recently, and it's so funny that you say this, Nanekia Brew Hammond was doing something, and she wanted she had invited certain writers to contribute. And it is really a wonderful opportunity for young people or new writers to do that. So yeah, please don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it down. Anthologies are good. It's just that for me at this stage, I'm so busy that when somebody has, it means you have to put aside your work and now focus on getting that one ready. So it's the interruption to my schedule that I don't like, but it's actually really a very good thing. So please, if you have an opportunity to do an anthology, do it. It's one way to get your name out there. Okay, so let's see, are there writers whose names I didn't mention that you probably need to know? There are more Ghanaian writers here. Oh, Martin, I forgot. Martin, your Writers Project. How do you pronounce his last name? I've never pronounced it before. Eglobe. I love him. So Martin has a story in here, and I didn't even mention his name. How awful. There's another Ghanaian, Beshika or Besika.
Jessica.
Sorry. Jessica Adombire. Agambila. Yeah. So that's it. I think that's it from Nigeria. From Senegal, we have, from Ghana, yeah. From Senegal, we have Boubacar Boris Diop, somebody who's not well known, and also we have somebody from South Africa called Njambolo Ndebele. So lots of other writers. So this is a good chance. So if you have an opportunity to participate in an anthology, do it. It's a good way to get your name out there and to start, acquiring fans, people who want to read your work. So Thank you. That's such a good question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's good to contribute to anthologies because then you can rub shoulders with big names and colleague names and all that.
Yeah, and we do appearances together. If we trained for COVID, Aisha would have been here. Martin is here, but he's just so busy running around. And, Kofi too is here and he's doing something else. He's been very busy, So, this would have been a good chance. And I'm actually surprised. I wish that some of these other writers aren't here. I have never met them. I would love to meet them. So, thank you.
Okay, we have only a few minutes left. So,
in 1 minute, right?
I think we are allowed to, the same way you have been leaving us on a moment of suspense, tell us a little bit about the project that you are working on that we should watch out for.
Okay, so I have a book coming out next year, and it's called Daughter in Exile, and it is about a middle-class Ghanaian who goes abroad, lives a good life in Ghana, and goes abroad in search of a better life. And the question is life better abroad, or is life better at home? And that is what she has to decide for herself.
On that note of excitement, let's all give a round of applause for Bisi.
Thank you so much.
The book, The Anthology Between Generations, is available at the Vidya bookstore. Please buy a copy and read. Get to finish the exciting stories that she started. Thank you very much, and let's stick around for the next events. Thank you.
Oh, and I would like to really also congratulate Paige. I've been observing such wonderful COVID protocols. As soon as people finish, they sanitize the microphones. Everything is sanitized. I've been watching. Thank you so much, Paige. Congratulations for doing this.
Thank you too. Thank you for coming.